Hey, welcome back to Mr. C's e-bike. This video is going to be a little bit different because MovCan sent me this bike for review, and one of the stipulations was they wanted well, they call it an install video, but it's an assembly video for Amazon. So I had to make that for them, and they wanted it short and sweet. Here's how you do this. Skip. Here's how you do this. Skip. So that's how I made the video. And I'm just going to put that video behind this video, and I'll give you a little more information than what Amazon gets because they got the big write-up and right there. So anyways, this is a 1,000-watt motor. It's 46-volt, 15.6 amp hour battery. It's 7-speed. It's a 1x7. And this bike, like the other MovCan, has the tail light, brake light with directionals, the headlight with the built-in horn, and this one comes with the M5 display, which I kind of like for the settings. It's not a colored display, but I like the settings that come with it. And I haven't gotten a chance to ride this yet, other than up and down my driveway. I haven't put my flat out in the tires, but the current scale or whatever on the display actually works on this one. So I was taking it up and down the driveway, and I got it up to 21 point something amps. So this has at least and most likely a 22 amp controller in it, which means even at nominal voltage, this motor is closer to 1,100 watts, unless it's scaled down somewhere else. I mean, that really kind of depends on the controller, but it's hitting 22 amps, so I guess it's not. And what more can I say about it? It does have the same shock, which isn't great, but it's adjustable, and this one you can get a hold of to adjust it. And I'll give you a closer look around it in a minute. It's got, you can't see it from that side, it's got cable driven disc brakes. The rotors are 160 millimeter, and actually the tires, it says 20x4, which if you measure them out, it's just over 3.5. It's like 3.6 or 3.7 inches. So they're not actually 4 inches wide. I don't know if there's some stipulation where if they're bigger than this, then you can call them 4, or I don't know, because they say they're 4 inches wide right on the tire. But like I said, I got to ride it up and down the driveway a little bit, and it's got plenty of torque. It's like the other one. You hit it, and it wants to start bringing the front end up. What else? I don't know. I guess I'll give you a look at the cockpit. All right, like I said, it's got the M5 display. I still got the wrapping on there, which I peeled off. It looked like it was broken when I first got it, so I peeled it back, and it wasn't. It's got the same Shimano shifter that comes on just about every bike from $4,000 down. It is a twist throttle, and I don't know why this is having trouble focusing, but you have your directionals, your horn, your headlight, and your controller, I guess. I'm getting distracted by this not wanting to focus. Decent brake levers. You got a nice flat spot here, but I think if you wanted to put a gas tank battery on here also, you'd have to figure out how to slide the seat back, which just moving this around, I mean, it's got a nice seat on it, but I'm really liking this little, well, handle coming back there when you got to swing it around in tight spots. And give you a look at the brakes. The only thing that I found that's kind of cheap, I guess, are these crank arms, which, I mean, as long as you're not hitting jumps and stuff, you're fine, which this isn't the type of bike you're gonna. There's your tail light. It's got the nice looking off-road headlight on the front, which I know from other bikes that I've had those same lights on. They're nice and bright. So I guess you can just watch the install video that I had to make, and the ride and review video of this bike should come out a week after this one does. So keep an eye out, subscribe, hit the bell, especially if you're interested in seeing this or the other MovCan bike. Alright, this is the assembly video for the MovCan V60. First thing you got to do is get it out of the box, get all the packing material off the bike. Inside the box, you have the bike with the handlebars. You have your front tire, your front fender, headlight, pump, your charger, toolkit, pedals, your manual, and the rear bracket for your taillight. Alright, the first thing you have to do is take this stem off so you can move the wires around. And you take this top bolt out. You got to take this all the way off. Then you got to loosen these bolts up. Which I believe they're already pretty loose when it comes. Yep. Take the stem off. Then you got to pop this off. It may take a little bit of a... And once this piece is off, you have to pull it so all the wires come out in front of the forks. Put this piece back on. Now would be a good time to put these rubber plugs in. Depending on how the handlebars sit, it might be hard to get in there. This riser back on. Then put the head back on. Put this bolt back in. And once you put it back in, you're going to tighten it right down. And you're going to try to make sure this is straight, which after you get the bike all together and the wheel is on, it'll make it a little easier to straighten it up, so you can always come back and do this part later. When you're done tightening that down, you got to take all 4 of these bolts out. You bring your handlebars up, make sure your wires aren't twisted around. and start putting these 4 bolts back in. When you tighten these down, you don't tighten one all at once. Kind of go back and forth from corner to corner, just so that it doesn't bind on them. I mean, you can thread them in ways, but just don't tighten it down. If you notice the next hole isn't lining up, might be because you've got the other one too tight. All right, and you finish tightening those down. And this is another thing, you can come back and get it where you want it later. Once you get it upside down, you can take the spacer out, get your wheel, loosen the nuts up on each side. I may have to take them off, I'm not sure. And they're these little hooks. When you put it on, those hook into the holes on there. You got to make sure those washers go on the outside. Make sure the brake lines up. Yeah. And probably going to have to take these just about all the way off. Make sure it goes in the hole. I'll give you a close-up picture in a minute. All right, there's the washer. And underneath there, you can see where it hooks into the hole. And the disc part of the brake has to go into the caliper. And if it's not lined up, you'll know right away because it'll bind and you won't be able to spin the wheel. All right, I always like to put the pedals on while it's upside down because it's just further off the ground. And it tells you which one is right. On the end of the pedal, it tells you that it's right. There's a sticker on here that tells you it's right. I think both the sticker here and here tell you which way it threads in, because the right one is normal thread and the left one is reverse thread. And that's the same on all bikes as far as I know. You can use the wrench that comes with it. And these are a part you want to make sure are tightened down because they will come loose when you're riding if they're not. And once these pedals are on, then you can stand your bike back up the right way. All right, I'm going to do the other side and flip it over. Next up to do is the headlight. You put, so the wire is facing up. All you got to do is put this piece in this hole, and then you put the bolt on it. Or just stretch this out a little bit. Try not to scratch anything. It's a little hard to get to just because the wires are all in the way, but not too bad. Hold it there. Put the bolt through. Put the nut on the back. You do have the Allen wrench and the wrench in your toolkit. Kind of hard to do this with the camera. Then you just make sure it's straight and you do the other side. All right, next up is the fender. And you got to take a bolt out on each side. It's in the same place on the other side. And you got to take the bolt and nut out up here. Pay attention to where the washers are. Put it in from the back side. And put the bolt in the front with the bracket from the fender on the back. Then put the nut and the washer on. Take the other bolt out. You just bring this up. There. Sure, I guess you should probably go on the outside of the brake line. Tighten everything up. Make sure it's in a good position, not hitting anything. Nice and straight. And your fender is on. The next step is plugging everything in. Which means you're almost done. They're all color coded, and there's an arrow on all of them. On each side, you line the arrows up because the arrows mark where that little notch is. Line the arrows up, push it together. You got to do the same thing with your headlight. Again, it's color coded. You just line the arrows up and plug it in. Now that everything's plugged in, let's check and make sure the bike works. All right, I got a little ahead of myself. Remember, I kept this wrapped up just in case it got bumped. Now you got to put it where it goes. Tighten it up. Then we can check to see if it works by pushing the power button. You hold it. Now, if you can see that, screen comes right on. So lift it up a little bit. And there it goes. Right up to 30 miles an hour. And that's how you put the bike together. And again, this is the MovCan V60. And if you've gotten this far and wondering where your keys are for the battery, they're down here. And here's the whole bike.